Good morning, my dear students. I am Dr. Kumar Saurabh, Assistant Professor, Department of Pediatrics, Government Medical College, Bethiya. In this online class, we will discuss with respiratory distress in neonates. So there are many causes of respiratory distress in neonates, but when to say it is respiratory distress? What is the definition of respiratory distress in a neonate? So any neonate of any gestational age, if he or she is presenting with fast breathing, it means respiratory rate should be more than 60 per minute, plus minus chest retraction, plus minus grunting, plus minus excessive use of accessory muscles, and sometimes there may be cyanosis in severe cases. So this all factors make a level of respiratory distress in a different neonate from a different degree of mild to moderate to severe degree, whether there is only tachypnea or it is associated with retraction, if the grunting is audible or not audible grunting, audible with simple ear or with the use of a stethoscope. All this component when given up on a scale, on the basis of the scoring system we decide whether it is mild, moderate or severe. We will discuss it on our next lecture class. But right now, respiratory distress. So there should be fast breathing, respiratory rate more than 60 per minute, along with chest retraction, plus minus grunting. In severe cases, there may be cyanosis, or there may be excessive use of accessory muscles. There are different causes of respiratory distress. This respiratory distress may be due to involvement of the respiratory system itself, or sometimes without the involvement of respiratory system there may be evidence of respiratory distress due to involvement of the other systems like cardiovascular system, metabolic diseases, involvement of the central nervous system. So most commonly, what are the common causes of respiratory distress associated with respiratory system? Depending upon the age, gestational age, and the time of onset of the diseases, we can identify on the clinical clue what are the different causes and what are the etiology behind the respiratory distress. In preterm, most common causes RDS or HMD, that is either respiratory distress syndrome or synonymous with the hyaline membrane disease. So any neonate who is premature, especially less than 34 weeks, and is presenting with fast breathing, chest retraction and grunting soon after birth, at least 6 hours within the 6 hours of the delivery, then always suspect it is a case of hyaline membrane disease. Whereas if a term or a post-term baby who is small for date is presenting with fast breathing and chest retraction and there is a history of meconium Steinleicher, then always suspect that it is a case of meconium aspiration syndrome. Sometimes due to septicemia, early onset septicemia, there may be bacteremia, viremia or fungemia, and it can cause pneumonia. And that is also a very common cause of respiratory distress in neonate, both in premature and term babies. Another cause is TTNB, that is transient tachypnea of the newborn. It is generally seen in case of term baby who has undergone LSCS, and generally TTNB is a diagnosis of exclusion and it presents within 6 hours of the birth. There may be other causes of respiratory system which are generally not medical causes. These are the surgical causes like congenital lobar emphysema, diaphragmatic hernia, or any air leak syndrome like pneumothorax, pneumomediastinum, etc. etc. So coming to the most important disease of respiratory distress, cause of respiratory distress in unit, that is hyaline membrane disease or respiratory distress syndrome. Why it is called hyaline membrane disease? Hyaline membrane disease is a pathological name, and it has been seen that in the post-mortem examination of severe cases of hyaline membrane disease in the preterm baby, there is deposition of membrane-like proteins in the alveoli of the premature babies So it is called hyaline membrane disease. What are the risk factors? First and foremost, most important risk factor is the prematurity, and it has been seen that almost 100% of the premature baby who is less than 28 weeks can present with hyaline membrane disease, but it can be seen any in a neonate who is less than 34 weeks. Sometimes hyaline membrane disease is also seen in case of term baby, especially when a term baby is a baby of diabetic mother, that is IDM, infant of diabetic mother, when it is associated with LSCS or any other cause of hypoxemia or metabolic acidosis can present like a disease of hyaline membrane disease. So prematurity is the most important cause, followed by diabetic mother, third is cesarean section, and fourth is hypoxia, especially perinatal asphyxia. So hyaline membrane disease, what is the clinical pathophysiology behind the hyaline membrane disease? So deficiency of surfactant is the underlying cause of hyaline membrane disease. Surfactant is a lipoprotein generally made of phosphatidylcholine or phosphatidylglycerol or some other proteins, and the main and it is secreted by the type 2 alveolar cells of the alveoli, type 2 alveolar cells. And what is the function? Its function is to minimize the surface tension of the alveoli. As you know, what is surface tension? So surface tension is a property of a material by virtue of which it minimizes its surface area. So what does surfactant does? Surfactant causes decrease in the surface tension. So whenever there will be decrease in the surface tension, so the size of the alveoli will be larger, there will be proper gas exchange through the alveoli. But whenever there is decrease in the production of the surfactant, surface tension of the alveoli will increase, and that will cause collapse of the alveoli, especially at the time of expiration. So there will be lower surface area for the gas exchange. So there may be hypoxia, hypercarbia, acidosis, and it may eventually lead to left to right shunt, and in some severe cases it can proceed up to the PPHN, that is persistent pulmonary hypertension. So main etiopathogenesis is the deficiency of surfactant. Surfactant is generally produced, and the production of the surfactant is initiated by the age of 20 weeks, almost peak by 34 to 35 weeks, ended by 37 to 38 weeks. So any neonate delivered before the time of 34 weeks can present with signs and symptoms of respiratory distress syndrome. What are the clinical features? That is simple. Like in every case of respiratory distress, there may be grunting, fast breathing, chest retraction, cyanosis, and use of accessory muscles. Coming to the management part, how will you manage? Management consists of investigation and treatment. So you have to investigate and treat simultaneously. It is not like that a case of neonatal respiratory distress in your SNCU and a baby is moderately to severely ill, and to diagnose what type of this is RDS, you have sent the parents to go for and come with an X-ray film. That is not appropriate. Investigation and management should be simultaneous. So first what you have to do, you have to start with the treatment, and then investigation will carry on with the treatment part. Two types of treatment is there. Before treatment, investigation. Chest X-ray. Chest X-ray is the most important investigation. What will you get in X-ray? Obviously there will be the collapse of the alveoli, so overall lung volume will be small, decreased lung volume, small lung volume. There may be overcrowding of the ribs due to small lung volume. Other, reticulogranular patterns all over the chest. There may be air bronchogram because of the white out lung. Okay, so these are the common X-ray findings in case of RDS or hyaline membrane disease. You can also go for the sepsis screen, septic screen, like complete blood count, absolute neutrophil count, C-reactive protein, quantitative value, micro ESR, peripheral blood smears. You can go for blood culture to rule out any other causes like septicemia or pneumonia. In moderate to severe cases of the respiratory distress, you can go for arterial blood gas analysis and venous blood gas analysis to rule out any metabolic acidosis or dyselectrolytemia. And simultaneously you have to manage the case, treat the case. So how will you treat the case? There are two types of treatment. First is supportive and second is a specific treatment. Supportive treatment, that will follow as TABC, that is management with T for temperature, A for airway, third B for breathing, and C for circulation. So put that baby, because premature baby is more prone to hypothermia, so put that baby immediately under radiant warmer at 36.5 degrees centigrade. Then airway, slightly extend the leg, not hyperextend, just slightly extend, wipe out any nostril or oral secretion or frothing, first mouth then nose, and put some nasal saline drops if there is evidence of nasal blockage. Then you have to look for the efforts of breathing. If it is mild to moderate respiratory distress, then you have to put the baby on CPAP, that is continuous positive airway pressure. But in severe cases you have to use mechanical ventilation. But in a limited resource setting like us, where no CPAP is available or sometimes mechanical ventilation is not available, then you have to, in mild to moderate cases, you can simply go for nasal prongs at the rate of oxygen with nasal prongs at the rate of 1 to 2 liter per minute, or oxygen supplementation with the hood with appropriate flow. Then C for circulation, you have to look for the CRT, that is capillary refill time. If it is less than 3 seconds, it's okay, it's fine. But if it is more than 3 seconds, then obviously baby is circulate in a state of circulatory instability. So you have to give 10 ml per kg of normal saline, and you have to watch CRT. If it is now less than 3 seconds, it's okay, but if it is even it is prolonged, then you have to repeat the normal saline. And if it is appropriate or inappropriate, depending on the condition and situation, you can add vasopressors like dopamine, dobutamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, depending on the situation. So you have managed T temperature, A airway, B for breathing, and C for circulation. At the meantime, you have to monitor with the SpO2 oxygen saturation of the blood with monitors. Then a specific therapy. As etiopathogenesis says, the main cause of the hyaline membrane disease is deficiency of surfactant. So you have to give surfactant, exogenous surfactant. This surfactant may be bovine origin, human origin, or recombinant type. So how will you give surfactant? That by the method of insure, INSURE. You have to give intratracheal insure. Insure means IN, that is intubate the baby. COSUR means you have to put surfactant inside the trachea, and then E, that is extubate. So you have to rapidly intubate, give surfactant, umbo bag, and then extubate the baby, and then put the baby either on the CPAP, in mild to moderate cases, or in severe cases you have to put the baby on the mechanical ventilation. So what is the role of exogenous surfactant? It decreases the number of hours required in the mechanical ventilation, and it also decreases the number of hours in CPAP. Sometimes there is no need of mechanical ventilation after the insure method. But in severe cases, most of the time mechanical ventilation is needed, and if it is not available, generally we lost the cases. So this is a general outline for the management of the hyaline membrane disease or any respiratory distress in the neonate. You have to follow TABC: temperature, airway, breathing, oxygenation, and the circulation method. And depending upon the condition, you have to provide CPAP, mechanical ventilation, and surfactant. Prophylactic treatment of the RDS. If it is evident that mother has to undergo premature delivery, or is there any history of previous premature delivery, then always give antenatal steroids in cases of delivery supposed to be going to be happen in less than 34 weeks of age. You have to give antenatal steroids either in the form of dexamethasone or betamethasone, beclomethasone or betamethasone. And the normal course of the steroid should be completed at least 24 hours before the delivery for proper formation of the surfactant. What is the role of glucocorticoid? Glucocorticoid enhances the formation, secretion, and process of the maturation of the surfactant release from the type 2 alveolar cells. So this is almost all about the or not all about, but it is a general outline about the respiratory distress syndrome. Go through the GAI, Nation's Textbook of Pediatrics, and in next class we will discuss with the other causes of the respiratory distress in the neonate. So thank you for watching and listening. Thank you. Bye.